Hello, hope you're all well. Hope you've had a good week and done some hard training. I think, as I said last week, this week for us is the hardest week of the block so far. So with the heaviest work in the gym, the highest volume aerobically in the pool, the highest volume of intensity in the pool, everything basically is as maximum as can be. So that then next week we're going to be like a deload week, so we get a bit refreshed into our first meet of the season next weekend, the Manchester meet. And actually, I had a look at the draft program. It's pretty stacked. We should have some good racing in there. I think the Loughborough coming, Loughborough National Centre's coming, the Manchester National Centre are coming. So we've got quite a few there that we'll be able to have some good races with, and show what we've been working to. So with this being the heaviest week, I've got a few of the gym highlights from this week so far. So on Monday's like our full body day. So I've got a squat where I've squatted 150 kilos for 3 sets of 5, which is a PB, 10 kilo PB, which is, 5 kilo better than last week, but compared to last year, 10 kilos better. 165 kilo RDL for 2 sets of 5. I did one set at 160, 2 sets at 165, which is the same as my heaviest set for 3 reps last year. The feet up dumbbell bench press is quite a good one because you don't get any leg drive. It's with a pause, so it's basically all chest and a little bit of front of the shoulder and the tricep, so under the arm. And that was 47.5 kilos for the 5 reps. So I did 45 kilos was quite easy. 47.5 kilos then was moved well, and I've got the strength for it. You can just see when Lewis comes and rescues me that the last reps just a little bit wobbly, is kind of going out of line rather than I'm not able to press it. And then chin-ups. So the chin-ups are with the supinated grip rather than pull-ups. We would do pronated, or we could do hammer grip, which is kind of neutral grip, somewhere in between. But I'm doing chins on a Monday, and so 32.5 kilos for 5 reps, combined with my, about 104 kilos body weight. So pretty good there. And again, I've never done more than 30 kilos, I don't think, on any pull-up variation. So again, PB, nice. Then on Wednesday, power in the gym. And so the only video I've got is this, which is the power cleans from the floor, 115 kilos. So I said last week that's what I was going to do this week, and so that's what I've done. And it's quite nice because that is Lewis's, so my coach's 1 rep max. I've just done it for 3 sets of 3. So that's quite nice. And then the pull session then. So you're going to see the pull session coming up shortly. And this is a lactate production session. So for those of you kind of that are new or that don't really know, what does lactate production mean? So we basically have 2 energy systems, our aerobic energy system and our anaerobic energy system. And so lactic acid is formed when we use our anaerobic energy system, so without oxygen. So the higher we can get our lactic acid, the better, more efficient, more developed our anaerobic system is. So we do sessions like this where we sprint for around 30 seconds. So all these reps are going to be either 50 meters or 30 seconds of swimming, because that's what you can maintain that intensity for. Any longer than that, and we go into more of a VO2 max. Shorter than that, we're at speed. So this is quite good. We've been doing this session either once or twice a week, just alternating with speed. And it's quite nice then because we get a lot of long course practice, which ultimately for the goals in to make the Commonwealth Games team in April, obviously that's going to be long course, so we'll get that long course practice in now, even though we're in short course season. But just before we look at the session, I'll just remind you about the membership section of my YouTube channel now. So thank you to everyone who signed up to be a member already. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure if you were to ask them, I hope anyway, they would be seeing some value in that. So with that, we've got a video of breaking down Maxime Grousset's 50 fly from the World Championships coming out this weekend. We've got Ponty from the World Championships this year, long course as well. We've got all of my logbook. So I've got my logbook here, which basically has every session that I've done so far this year. And then so every session, just a photo on there with all the times, all the weights, all the splits, everything. And you just have a look at that. So if you'd like to be a member, sign up, see all this extra content. That would be that'll be very much appreciated. But for now, let's have a look at the session. So rep number 1 then, 12 reps in total. Rep number 1 is a dive 50. So on Friday morning, as you would see if you were a member of the channel, my first rep was 24.3, which is the fastest Lewis has ever got me on a 50 metre time. So I wasn't really sure about this, how well I would go, having done all of that lifting beforehand. But you can see the stroke here, I really like it. I really like the flow. You can see as it comes through the first camera, and we switch to the second camera, that the kick is not too big. The range out the front is really nice. 1 breath and 19 strokes. That's actually fewer strokes than I do in a 50 metre race, and only 0.3 slow. So this first rep was 24.3 as well. So really happy with that. I was much springier off the block than on Monday. Monday, I think I felt the heavy lifting a little bit more. So we're into rep 2 then, which is the exact same, a dive 50 metres. All of these are on a 5-minute turnaround, I should say. So you start on the first rep, 5 minutes later you start the second rep, 5 minutes later the third rep, etc. for all 12. And that sounds like a long time, 5 minutes, but that ends up going very, very quickly. So we come in then on the second rep, that was 24.8. So again, comparing to Friday, it's the same time, 24.8, half second slower than the first rep, which we would expect because we've produced that lactic acid. It's all in the system and making that's what that burn is. You know, when you feel a burn, that's the lactic acid. So rep number 3, and again, I still quite like how the stroke's looking. It's going getting a little bit wider on the entry through there. You can see it's slightly wider, but still carrying the speed quite well. Now on Friday, my third rep was 25.1, so I really wanted today to be all 24s, but unfortunately I was 25.0 there. So it's still faster than Friday, which is really encouraging. Rep number 4 then is where we start adding in some resistance. So we've got the sponge on. So the sponge is just kind of like a shower loofah. It's what you might use, to clean yourself in shower. It adds a bit of resistance, so obviously that catches water on it. It's not massive resistance, but it's enough to kind of know it's there and to kind of force you to have to kick harder and keep the stroke longer. So that one there was 28.4. So again, when I compared to Friday, I was 27.9 on the first one, so half second slower than that. But this is where it started really hurting, especially my legs. I think having squatted and RDL'd on Monday, and then come in and gone the jumps, the cleans today is the legs are getting a big hit out. Rep number 5 then is another exactly the same again, push with the sponge. And again, you can see here now, this is where it starts to look a little bit more hard work. So actually that first 25 I thought looked okay. You see here that the entry is starting to go wider. The stroke's getting a little bit more up and down. The feet are still coming out of the water quite nicely. That was 29.4, which was 0.3 slower than on Friday, and then a second slower than that first rep. But that's ultimately that's what we want. It would be quite concerning if we were to swim these reps and not feel any fatigue, not feel any pain, not drop any time as we go through the reps. So rep number 6 then is with a parachute, and so because this is a lot of resistance, and probably in hindsight probably too much resistance for a swim at this point. You can see the entry is really wide, the rate is quite low, the body position is quite steep in the water, but we only go for 30 seconds rather than grinding out that full 50. See there, I get to about 40 meters, which is pretty standard. But yeah, really tough rep. So our 7th rep is going to be the same, but on kick. And I think this has been one of the things that's been really quite good in our tolerance work, is that I believe when we swim butterfly, it has to be kick driven, and the kick is what controls what the arms do, what the tempo's like. It all comes from the kick. And so when our kick starts dropping in a race, that's when we start swimming slower and our body position drops and we can't get the range, because our kick almost like helps fling the arms all the way to the front. So we want the kick to be really strong, especially under this kind of stress, where in this circumstance where we are putting everything into it. And so that's why then rep 8 we add an extra parachute, so 2 parachutes now. And you'll notice on these kick reps that I've got a snorkel on, and that's because at this point 30 seconds breath hold at max effort is going to be not happening. And then as soon as I would want to come and take a breath, that's going to ruin the body position, and actually probably the quality of the rep will decrease. So there's no harm in adding things like snorkels to your kick sets. You'd probably go kick with a board actually on this. Board and snorkel would have been fine. I quite like the arms by the side to let the whole body move kind of quite freely. You see there, yeah? Just about struggling to get out the water. It ends up being, yeah, these reps are really hard. And of course, because they're compounding on top of each other, each rep is harder than the last, and you feel sick and your legs feel dead heavy. And so what's best to do then? That's it, do another kick rep with 2 parachutes. And all of these reps I was holding literally 11 kicks off the push off, which is what I want to be on my turns when I race in April. And actually I'm not sure short course whether I'll go 10 or 11 kicks off the turns, because it will depend a little bit if 10 kicks and 6 strokes lands me perfectly on the wall, or maybe I want to do 11 kicks and then 6 strokes, or 11 kicks maybe then is 5 strokes. So it can vary a lot more short course, I think, but long course I'm dead strict on 11 kicks. That will take me to just about 15 meters. So our last 3 reps then are all the same. We're a running dive. I put 45 meters on the screen because we're entering just before the flags, and then it's just sprint to the end. And these reps are quite nice mentally to attack, because as we can see we put the pad in there, the timing pad, so you're just aiming for that big yellow square. You just want to get to that end. Whereas sometimes when we do it short course and you've got a turn, and it's just a different dynamic. We timed the last 15 meters of all of these, so I was 8.9 on that with a 5-stroke breath hold finish. And again, that's something I want to develop this year, is going a longer breath hold into the finish, because especially when I notice short course, I get quite a good acceleration when I put my head down. I accelerate into the wall. So if I can do that from further out, obviously I'm going to be faster. Rep 11 then, and this is where we have to be tough. So quite often people say phrases like last one, fast one, and I hate stuff like that, because every rep should be the fastest one. Every rep should be as fast as you can go every time. There's no kind of, I've got 10 more reps coming up, so I'm going to go easy. Forget that. You're in the moment. You have to swim one rep as fast as possible. That's how we're going to get the best gains, and that's why we're going to ultimately see probably a drop. Having said that, this rep was a 10th faster than the last one on that last 15, with a 6-stroke breath hold finish. So that gives a little bit more weight to that idea that I'm better off with a longer breath hold finish where possible. Last rep then, and that's the biggest splash on the entry. You can see that's probably the most laboured on that run up. The stroke still doesn't look too bad, and I think because we've done the resistance work beforehand, we're still kicking in such a way that we had to kick with the resistance, which is ultimately why we have that resistance in there. Another 6-stroke finish on the breath hold, but this one was 9.1, so then a 0.3 drop, and really glad that was over. Really tough session. You can see me there kind of collapsing onto the side of the pool. So that'll do it from me today. So thank you for watching. If you want any coaching, any mentoring, or any race analysis, go to my website, jingramswimming.com. If you want any supplements, you can use my code JINGRAM at Applied Nutrition. And of course, if you want to see more in-depth training diaries, the training logs, please consider becoming a member of the channel. But apart from that, I'll see you next time. Cheers.